so you can call the meeting to order at your convenience.
Okay. How many commissioners do I have here? Four. Let's wait another minute till we get one more, at least.
Yeah, no problem.
Madam Chair, I'm joined by some seagulls in my office. I don't think they can vote though. But one of them was saying important work or something like that.
Well, we'll let them comment though if they want to.
Gotcha.
Public hearings, you know.
Sure thing.
Are you actually in your office?
That's a photo of my office.
Yeah, okay.
So that I have evidence that somehow birds made it in my office.
I thought maybe you drove all the way up there this afternoon.
No. I just took the photo. Evidence.
And take him 6 months to empty his office.
Still at it, isn't he?
I am. I'm guilty.
All right.
You've got your assistant working overtime.
She's a workaholic.
All right. Are we ready? Did anybody else come back?
No.
Same for.
Not yet.
Well, we can. All right, well, let's just start. They can jump in when they're ready. Let me know, though, when people come in, because I can't see them.
Yeah.
Okay, item 44.
Madam Chair, before we begin tonight's public hearings, I'm just going to administer the oath. So agenda items number 44 through 49 and agenda item number 53 are all quasi-judicial hearings. Since this meeting is being held using communications media technology in compliance with Executive Orders 20-69 and 20-246, all members of the public who are wishing to speak on these agenda items must be sworn in virtually. So for those wishing to speak, even though I can't see your hand, if able, please raise your right hand. And do you swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Signify by saying, I do. And then for agenda item number 44, this is case number DVA-20-2. This is a quasi-judicial hearing. It is an application of Eric Moore for an amendment to a previously approved development agreement to extend the duration of the agreement for an additional 5-year term, to provide additional time for the development of an assisted living facility with up to 80 beds and a maximum height of 35 feet. The public hearing was properly advertised and an affidavit of publication has been received for filing. One letter in opposition to the application has been received. The matter is properly before the board to be heard.
Thank you. Do we need a presentation on this? Folks, no? Okay. We were all here when it passed. Okay, then. Do we have any comments from the
Public?
Well, no, actually.
Sorry.
No, actually.
Moving us along.
It was coming. I was getting there. From the applicant, that's what I meant. I know we have somebody, but he doesn't feel the need to say anything unless we have questions. Do we have any questions of the applicant? Okay. Say that again. Who said that?
I said, no, ma'am.
Okay. Gotcha. Well, then there's no need for, so do we have any questions, any comments at all? If not, I will entertain a motion.
Move approval.
Commissioner, you need to take the public comment. You need to hear from the public and get the testimony.
Do I have to do that before I take a motion?
Yes, ideally, that would be best, yes.
Okay, fine. Well, Brian, do we have any?
At this time, if there are any members of the public that wish to comment on agenda item number 44, please hit *9 on the telephone or raise your hand virtually in the Zoom meeting. And Madam Chair, we do have one member of the public that wishes to speak. This is Alan Gooduri. I'm going to probably butcher that. So Alan, if you go ahead and unmute yourself and give us your first, last name, spelling, and address for the record. And also confirm that you've taken the oath administered by the clerk.
I do.
Thank you, sir. And for the record, can you give us your spelling and address, sir?
It's at my shop or at my home?
If I could interject for a moment, Mr. Gaduri is our applicant on item number 47. So I don't know if he actually wishes to speak on this one or maybe the other one. So maybe we could check with him.
Yeah, not on this one.
Okay. We'll get to your item in a minute, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Let me see, Madam Chair. I don't believe we have any other hands or anybody else that wishes to speak on agenda item number 44.
Okay, I will entertain a motion then.
Move approval. Second.
Okay. All right, we have a motion from Commissioner Seal, second from Commissioner Welch. All in favor, please raise your hand. Item carries 6-0. I'm assuming. I can't see Commissioner Long.
You had 6-0, I believe.
Yeah, okay. Item 45.
All right, so agenda item number 45 is also a quasi-judicial hearing. This is regarding case number DVA-20-3. It's an application of Z&N Properties, the 6 LLC, formerly known as Belcher Place LLC, for an amendment to a previously approved development agreement to extend the duration of the agreement for an additional 5-year term, to provide additional time for the development of office uses having a maximum height of 2 stories and building intensity as permitted by the property's zoning and land use designations. The public hearing was properly advertised. An affidavit of publication has been received for filing, and no correspondence has been received. The matter is properly before the board to be heard.
And again, there's no change in the development agreement at all, just an extension. Right?
That is correct.
Thank you. Okay, then. Do we need a presentation on this? Are you guys out there? Just say no. It's okay. Okay. All right. Do we have any public that would like to speak, Brian?
At this time, if there are any members of the public that wish to comment on agenda item 45, please raise your hand virtually in the Zoom meeting or hit *9 on the telephone. And Madam Chair, there's nobody that wishes to speak on this item.
Okay, then we will close the public hearing then. And I will entertain a motion.
Move approval, Madam Chair.
Second.
Okay. If there are no questions, comments, all in favor, please raise your hand. Commissioner Seal? All in favor, please raise your hand. Thank you. Motion carries 6-0. That's all right. Item 46.
So item number 46 is also a quasi-judicial hearing. This is for case number ZON-20-5. It's an application of Habitat for Humanity of Pinellas County Incorporated for a zoning change from C2, which is general commercial and services, to R4, which is 1, 2, and 3 family residential. The public hearing was properly advertised and an affidavit of publication has been received for filing. No correspondence has been received. The matter is properly before the board to be heard.
Okay. Do we need a presentation?
No.
Yeah. I didn't think so. Okay. All right. Do we have any questions? Any comments from the public, Brian?
This time, if there are any members of the public that wish to comment on agenda item 46, please raise your hand virtually in the Zoom meeting or hit *9 on the telephone. And Madam Chair, there's nobody that wishes to speak on this item.
All right, then.
Move approval, Madam Chair.
We'll close the
Second.
public- Okay. Commissioner Seal, were you seconding or did you want to have a question?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Commissioner Long and Commissioner Seal, all in favor, please raise your hand. Thank you. Motion carries 6-0. Item 47.
So item number 47 is also a quasi judicial hearing. It's for case number ZON-20-6. It's an application of Alan Lee Godori for a zoning change from R4, which is 1, 2, and 3 family residential, to C2, which is general commercial and services. The public hearing was properly advertised and an affidavit of publication has been received for filing. No correspondence has been received. The matter is properly before the board to be heard.
Okay, do we need a presentation? I know we have the applicant here that would like to speak.
No.
Okay, any questions so far? Okay, Brian.
Thank you, Madam Chair. At this time, if there are any members of the public that wish to comment on agenda item 47, correct, is what we're on? Thank you.
7, sorry.
Please raise your hand virtually in the Zoom meeting or hit *9 on the telephone. And I didn't see Mr. Goduri's hand go back up. Right now, there's nobody that wishes to comment on this item.
Okay. Hope we didn't confuse them too much. All right. I will entertain a motion then.
Move approval, Madam Chair.
Second.
Okay. I have a motion from Commissioner Long, second from Commissioner Welch. We still don't have a hand?
No
Okay.
hands up.
All right. Well, we will vote then. All in favor, please raise your hand. Motion carries 6-0, I'm assuming.
Yes.
Yes.
Item 48.
So item number 48 is also a quasi judicial hearing. This is case number Z/LU-20-07. It's an application of Robert and Julie Ferguson and Jerry Hemphill. John M. Williams for a zoning change from RA, which is residential agriculture, to R1, which is single family residential, and a land use change from residential suburban and preservation to residential low. The public hearing was properly advertised. An affidavit of publication has been received for filing. 5 letters and 2 email comments in opposition to the application have been received. The matter is properly before the board to be heard.
Let's have a little presentation on this one, if you don't mind. Okay.
Good evening, Commissioners. Michael Schoderbach with the Planning Division. Brian, do you have my PowerPoint?
Yes, sir.
All right. This is case ZLU-20-07. It's approximately 6.45 acres consisting of 3 separate parcels in Palm Harbor. The request includes a future land use amendment from residential suburban and preservation to residential low, and a zoning atlas amendment from residential agriculture to single family residential, R1. The proposed use is an 18-unit single family residential subdivision. You can see the properties here outlined in red. They are on the east side of 19th Street. This area is it's approximately just southwest of the intersection of Belcher Road and Nebraska Avenue. The property, the 2 northern pieces currently have a single family home on each. The southern parcel is vacant. Surrounding the property is a variety of residential uses and 1 church that's directly to the south. To the east is a new single family subdivision that's just been recently completed. To the north is a single family residence. And north of that is all single-family residence. To the west is a variety of different single-family residential subdivisions. And again, directly south is a church. To the southeast is a county stormwater pond. Next slide. You can see the current zoning and land use on the left and the proposed on the right. The area is for this parcel, and the ones in that kind of light tan are all residential suburban, which allows 2.5 units an acre. Off to the west and southwest is residential low, so that's 5 units an acre, which is what they're proposing on this property. And the lighter yellow to the northwest is residential urban, which allows 7.5 units an acre. The blue directly south is the church property, which is institutional. The dark green is preservation, and that small area of blue inside the subject area is water. There is a man-made pond on the property that they're looking to remove. Next slide. Here you can see just a closer aerial of the properties showing the 2 houses on it and then the vacant on the south piece. And the property fronts 19th Street. You can see on the east side and the south side, there's unimproved rights of way in between the property. Next slide. This is looking east at the subject site from 19th Street. Next slide. And this is swinging around across the west on 19th Street to single family homes. And it's a picture of the church that's located to the south. And the single family home that's to the north. The applicant proposes to redevelop the site with an 18-unit single family subdivision. Some of the impacts on the property include traffic. So this request will generate additional daily trips. However, the trips will not change the level of service on the surrounding roadways. 19th Street is a local street, so it does not have a level of service on it. So we go to the next adjacent streets, which are Nebraska on the north, which is about a 1/4 mile from the property, and Tampa Road to the south, which is about a 1/2 mile from the property. And both of those have sufficient levels of service and sufficient capacity if the to include the 18 units or the maximum allowable by the residential low category. So we gave you the numbers here. 163 trips increase is based on the maximum potential units of residential low, which is 32 units. However, 29 additional trips is based on the proposed 18 units. Also, just for the density, the current residential suburban, it allows 2.5 units per acre, would allow 15 residential units on this property. Residential low at its maximum would allow 32. They're proposing 18, and also in site plan review may impact the final number of developable units. New subdivisions require roadways, stormwater ponds, landscape, common areas, which usually they can't get to the maximum residential development on here. Next slide. We find the proposed land use and zonings are appropriate. It's compatible with the surrounding uses. Most of the neighborhoods are single family residential around there with comparable densities ranging from 2 units an acre up to 4 units an acre. In the platted subdivisions, there are some larger lots on there that have some smaller densities than that, but the majority is between 2 and 4 units an acre. It's consistent with the surrounding developed density, consistent with the comp plan, and it's consistent with the countywide plan. If approved, this would not require an amendment to the countywide plan map. The whole area is currently residential low medium on the countywide plan map. And again, staff recommends approval, and the local planning agency recommended approval with a 6-to-1 vote. And I'll answer any questions from the board.
Commissioner Eggers?
Yeah, thank you. So there's some property in the area that have RS and R1 is their land use and zoning. Another one has RS and RA, and another one has RL and R1. So there's different combinations in the area. I noticed that to the north and the south, it's staying the way it is the way that they are currently. So if you change this one, it'll be different than that and from the north and the south. So I guess my question is that with 16 units on the current, I guess the current designations, and they're only wanting 18, how do we ensure without a development agreement that they stick to 18 or less on the property? That would dictate the kind of home that they're going to build, which would stay in line with the homes across the street, and that kind of thing, as opposed to, well, once they get this, they could downsize the size of the homes and make it very different than the other homes in the area. So just curious how we can regulate that, or if we just leave it at 16, you're missing your mark by 2. So just curious.
Sure. The proposed R1 zoning requires minimum lot size, 9,500 square feet, 90-foot lot width. So with that requirement, that limits the amount that they could build on the property. If approved, they could not decrease the lot size. So that's the minimum that they could provide. We don't have a development agreement that's limiting the density on here. We looked at it as some of the surrounding developed subdivisions. An example is right across the street to the west. It's the subdivision that has 2 cul-de-sacs, Melanie Way in Wisconsin. That's got 19 units, and it's about the same size of these properties. So just by looking at the requirements for subdivision for roadways and ponds and landscaping and the minimum lot size, staff determined that 20 was probably the maximum amount that they could build on the property with the approval request.
Yeah, okay, thank you. I drove out there and I just was looking the area over, and it certainly seems like the homes across the street, if we're saying they're comparable size, that's what you're saying by the 9,500 square feet and the 90-foot width requirement, that property would then be somewhat limited as well. I mean, they couldn't change to a smaller property if that.
No, they would have to then come back and request a different zoning with a smaller lot size.
Okay. Okay, that's all for now. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Would the applicant like to make a presentation? They would have 20 minutes, right? Cool. Do we have the applicant?
We have one hand up, and it's a Robert Pergolesi. Is that the applicant?
He's
Okay,
probably
thank
a representative. Yeah.
Thank
Yes,
you.
that's
I'm
the
sorry.
applicant.
All right.
And
So,
Brian, since
yes,
you've
ma'am.
been keeping our time, the applicant gets 20 minutes, and whatever they don't use when they speak now, they can reserve for rebuttal. So just FYI to you.
Okay. So Mr. Pergolesi, welcome to the board. And do I need to have him state his name for the record, Jewel, and all that, or no?
Yes,
Okay.
and make sure he affirms that he took the oath.
Okay.
Okay.
Go ahead,
I've been unmuted.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay. Good evening, commissioners. Robert Pergolesi with Gulf Coast Consulting, 13825 Icott Boulevard, Suite 605 in Clearwater, and I have been sworn. With
Thank
me
you,
is Mr. Bob Ferguson. He's one of the property owners for this 6.45 acre site. Essentially, Commissioner Eggers, to answer your question, as Michael did, or Michael mentioned, the R1 lot size will limit the number of lots we can get on this property. Also, with the amount of roads and the road and drainage retention, we'd be limited to 18 lots maximum and meeting R1 standards. R1 is consistent with much of the zoning in the area. And we would ultimately be developed at like a 2.8 or 2.9 units per acre, which fits right in that sweet spot that Michael had mentioned. The application comes to you with a staff recommendation for approval and an LPA recommendation for approval. And we'd be happy to answer any questions you have or answer any questions any members of the public have. Thank you.
Okay. Do we have anybody from the public wants to speak, Brian?
If there are any members of the public that wish to speak on this agenda item, number 48, please hit *9 on the telephone or raise your hand virtually on the Zoom meeting. And Madam Chair, there's nobody that wishes to speak.
Okay. Do we have any questions from the commission with Mr. Pergolesi? Okay. I guess, Mr. Pergolesi, do you have anything else you want to say?
I have nothing further to say other than go Rays.
Yeah. All right. Okay, that works. I will entertain, we will close the public hearing then.
Sorry, just one final question. Just want clarification. Yes. One thing, I'm sorry. So right now, under the current zoning and land use, you would be entitled to 16. Under the one that you're proposing, you'd be entitled to 32, but you know by design, because of the design standards of the zoning, that the most you'll be able to get on there is 18. Is that what you're saying, Robert?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And so the most that we would get, that you would get compared to what they have allowed now is an additional 2 units.
That would be correct, yes.
Thank you. Appreciate it. I move approval.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion from Commissioner Eggers, second from Commissioner Welch. If there's nothing else, all in favor, please raise your hand. Thank you. Motion carries 6-0, yes. Okay, item 49.
So item number 49 is also a quasi-judicial hearing. This is for case number ZLU-20-08. It's the application of Pinellas County Land Assembly Trust, Lealman Housing Finance Authority of Pinellas as the trustee for a zoning change from R4, 1, 2, and 3 family residential to RM, which is multifamily residential, and a land use change from residential urban to residential low medium. The public hearing was properly advertised and an affidavit of publication has been received for filing. 1 email comment and 1 voicemail in opposition to the application have been received. The matter is properly before the board to be heard.
Okay. Do we have any questions from the board before? Do we want a presentation on this one? Yes, please.
Yes, please.
Okay. Yes. So who's doing that?
Lynn, you're on. You got on mute.
You're,
You have a PowerPoint for this?
I have the PowerPoint. Glenn, can you change your audio source? I think that we're having a really hard time hearing you right now.
How would I do that?
Bottom right hand in Zoom, there's a mute button with an up arrow.
Yes.
And I want you to select a different audio source if there is one.
Okay, is that better?
Much better. Thank you, sir.
All right.
All right. Let me queue up your presentation here. Sorry, sir.
Thank you. All right, good evening. Glenn Bailey, Pinellas County zoning. This is case number ZLU 20-08. Next slide. In this case, the subject area is approximately 5.7 acres consisting of 19 separate parcels in the Lealman area. It's on the south side of 58th Avenue North on both sides of 40th Street North. It's owned by Pinellas County Land Assembly Trust, Lealman Housing Finance Authority. The request is a future land use map amendment on all 5.7 acres from residential urban, which allows 7.5 units per acre, to residential low medium, which allows 10 units per acre. The zoning atlas amendment is on 3.95 of the overall 5.7 acres, and that request from R4, 1, 2, and 3 family residential to RM, multifamily residential. The reason why the request is less for the zoning is because there's 1 parcel that's already zoned RM in this subject area. Existing uses are the multifamily on that one parcel that's already residential multifamily zoning, also single-family detached, duplexes, and vacant lots. And the proposed use in this case is multifamily residential in the form of apartments. You see the subject area, the larger square on the northwest is the multifamily area right now, zone multifamily, and you have different multifamily mixture of housing there right now. The other areas are the areas that will be going to R4, and all the areas in the red are up for the land use amendment from residential urban to residential low medium. It's the general area of 58th Avenue North, just to the north of the properties, and they're split by 40th Street North. You can see the 54th Avenue North corridors to the south. Directly to the north of the properties is the Lellman Elementary School. To the west of that is a mobile home park. And to the north of those areas is a large multifamily complex. And just to the south of the southwest red rectangle is the old fire station there. And the rest of the area is largely a mixture of R4 zoning, which allows single family duplex and triplex. And of course, along the 54th Avenue North corridor is a mixture of commercial and residential uses. Next slide. You can see the change that's proposed. On the left is what's existing. The yellow is residential urban. And the darker on the right map is residential low medium. You see the zoning is the letters in there, the RM zoning. And then on the other side, you can see where that northwest corner is already RM, the rest is R4. You see the blue on the map is the school to the north and the old fire station to the south. The blue to the west of the subject area is a church. And the red on the map is commercial along 54th Avenue corridor. Right, next slide. You see an oblique aerial of the property. You see the multifamily again on the northwest. And the other areas, you can see the smattering of vacant lots and single family. And where Brian's pointing now is the elementary school, the mobile home park beside that, and the church is visible there as well, and the old fire station. And you see again the mixture of single family and duplex housing in the remainder of the area there. Here's some street side photos. Southwest corner, 58th Avenue North and 40th Street North is the multifamily section of the subject property as it looks today. And here is the single family portion of the property. The left side is the northwest corner, 57th Avenue North and 40th Street North. And the other one is the south side, 58th Avenue North, east of 40th Street North. So to give you an idea of what's there today. Some additional information is the intended use is to redevelop the subject property with new apartments. The residential low medium that's proposed could allow up to 14 additional units at the base density from what's there now. Affordable housing density bonus is not part of this application. It is a by right use or staff reviewed use in both R4 and RM zoning districts. So that would come following this. But a density bonus, when applied, could allow up to 86 total units with the proposed RLM land use. If there's no change to RLM, it would allow up to a maximum of 64. And site plan review, as always, may impact final numbers of units based on stormwater needs, access, parking, things like that. And the basically, I put a little table here together. It shows you the existing residential urban. The maximum number of units now is 43. That's without an affordable density bonus. If you got one, go up to 64. And with the change to residential low medium, the base density would increase from 43 to 57 potential maximum units. And with the density bonus, it would go up 50% to 86. Next slide.
Hey, Glenn.
Yes.
But in addition to the units, you're changing the style, right? From residential to multifamily.
Correct.
Okay, so it's
You'll
not
be going to apartments. So it'll be going from that one part that does allow multifamily on the northwest side. The rest right now would allow single family duplex, triplex. And the RM zoning would allow all those things in addition to apartments.
right. Okay. And the apartments, multiple level, like 2, 3 story versus the single story that's in the area.
The RM district allows up to 50 feet in height. And the R4 district allows 35 feet.
The R4 district. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So potential impacts with multifamily units, they generate fewer vehicle trips than single family units. Basically, the difference is from 9.6 daily trips for single family, and multifamily generates an average of 6.6. So it's actually three lower trips per day, based on generally more people live in single family developments than multifamily units, things like that. Those are the reasons there. And we'd actually have 37 fewer daily trips at base density we generated by this change, based on it going all multifamily instead of single family. But there would be additional trips if the density bonus applies, up to 155 additional trips. We feel that's appropriate, and that would not increase any issues in traffic in the general area. This is part of the Lellman Community Redevelopment Area, and proposal is consistent with the objectives of the redevelopment and revitalization of the Lellman CRA. A recommendation that the proposed amendments are appropriate, generally compatible with surrounding area, furthers the objectives of the CRA, and it's consistent with the comprehensive plan. Staff recommends approval, and the local planning agency recommended approval to vote of 7-0. Any other questions?
Commissioner Eggers?
Yeah, I mean, again, I don't want to take away from the direction that they want to move in this area, but it just seems like the whole area is R4 for the most part. I mean, you have RMH across 58th Avenue, you have UZ where the school is, and you have that RM right there. So on 58th Avenue, you have the two RMs that face each other. The rest in the whole area is R4. Is there a thought of moving more and more properties to R4? Seems like a lot of single family homes, smaller single family homes in that area. Is that the direction that that neighborhood is moving?
Well, we looked at it as a mixture of uses. You're correct, and a lot of it is R4. There's also a church there, and right next door, there's a school across the way. There's a mobile home park, actually 2 or 3 mobile home parks that have a lot of units on the north side along that 58th Avenue North. There's also some C2 zone properties that are actually not developed as commercial, as far as I know, as well. But this is an area that could transition over time, yes, to more higher densities and more different types of housing. I think the idea is to have a mixture of housing types, availability, in addition to the single family duplex, triplex, also have some opportunities for more multifamily uses. And of course, right to the north of the school, it's not on 58th Avenue North, but it's a large area of multifamily development.
Yeah, the one that faces 62nd?
Correct. Okay. Yes, that's Palm Lake Village housing.
Right. Well, it just seems like that if you're gonna, in that lower R4, if you're gonna allow multifamily in there, you're drastically gonna change the nature of that community from the height that's there now to what they could put there. So just a concern, but thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Yes, Commissioner Justice, sorry.
Thank you, Madam Chair. A few questions. One, where are we at as far as the process of a plan, a design? I know that one went out for bid and one's, those kind of things, but how far are we down the road with an actual design or a plan on what's going to go in here? My question being that we have in that one corner on 40th, the RM, but the others that are R4 that are going to RM, but still could potentially, depending on what the design is right now, it could be a mix where those could be a row of townhomes or something and apartments on the 58th Avenue portion of it. So it's not just going to be a massive apartment complex dropped in on the entirety of this zone or this property that we're changing.
Right, those kind of the questions I would defer to Bruce Bussey of our housing division. I believe he is on the call. It would be more knowledgeable about that item.
Bruce is on his way. Give me one moment.
And then the other question I had, and I'm not sure who this would be, is Lellman Housing Finance Authority. What is that and who is that?
Good evening, Commissioners. Bruce Bussey, Housing and Community Development. You're The first question, Commissioner Justice, the Housing Finance Authority of Pinellas County is the owner of this property. It's in a trust and was acquired with NE3 affordable housing funding. And so it's in a trust owned by, the deed is the Housing Finance Authority. Actually, the county itself is a beneficial owner. So this property was acquired in 2016 from D&D missionaries as Lellman Heights with Penny for Pinellas funding for affordable housing. So the Housing Finance Authority, as the trustee, is the entity that actively manages the property. Since that time, it's been continued to be used as affordable rental housing. Some of the older units that were in poor condition have been demolished. That's why you'll see quite a few vacant lots in the area that is being considered this evening. To your second question, Commissioner Justice, in terms of timing, a request for negotiations has been issued and proposals have been received. The top two ranked proposals did propose to redevelop essentially the entire property as an apartment community. We've conducted negotiations with the top ranked applicants, and the concept that we'll be bringing to you actually next month, you should see that November 17th, the following board meeting, is a concept that would produce multi-unit apartment complex on the portion of the property that we're looking at this evening. The remaining portions of the property that are owned by the Housing Finance Authority would either be preserved or would be utilized for single family housing development. So that concept that we're going to be bringing to you for your consideration is sort of a mixed use, multiple types of housing that we think would do a good job of utilizing this property for both redevelopment to improve the community and maximize the number of housing opportunities that we could produce.
Well, let me go back to the first question, Lellman Housing Finance Authority. I've just not heard that phrase before. Is that the Pinellas County Housing Finance just was a sub part of that, or I've just not heard that actual term, Lellman Housing Finance Authority, before?
Yeah, I think there's a comma after Lellman. It's the name of the trust. There's a trust that was created, and it's called the Lamb Assembly Trust, Lellman.
Ah, okay.
The owner is the Housing Finance Authority of Pinellas County.
All right. Punctuation is important. And then when that design comes back, and I think, the idea of setting the table for next month is fine, and we'll have a better idea of what the actual plan is. But when we're looking at it, and we're looking at adding that number of units, and I know that multifamily produce less trips, but the roads in there from south of the elementary school, from there to 54th Avenue, those are pretty thin roads to begin with. Are we talking about infrastructure improvement as part of this whole deal?
That has not been a component of the proposals as required. I think we could look at that in terms of site planning. I want to defer to DRS in terms of the capacity for the roadway.
And I don't know what the technical capacity is. I drive that 58th Avenue frequently, and if you're going to drop another X number of residents in there, it's going to be a challenge. So, just my 2 cents.
Well, so is that something that we could use TIF funds for, if we had any, assuming we had any?
Assuming you had some, but yeah, I doubt that it would produce that much money for roads or things like that. So that would fall back. Obviously, those roads are local roads, so that would fall back on our infrastructure cost.
Right. Any other questions?
You have Commissioner Welch, Madam Chair. I'm sorry.
Okay, Commissioner Welch, please.
Off the radar.
Yes, you are.
So I agree with Commissioner Justice's comment about, making sure we have, pedestrian access, complete streets type approach to it. The other question I had, you said this is 86 affordable units under 80% AMI. Is that the total number of units? Are there additional units at market, or is 86 the total number?
In terms of the land use and zoning, if the property receives the density bonus, then the maximum number of units that could be produced is 86. The proposals that have come in response to the request for negotiations are proposing a 100% affordable project, affordable to income groups under 80% of AMI. That
Okay.
determination will really be made a little bit down the road as the financing plan comes into place, but they are proposing 100% affordable to under 80% AMI.
Okay. And did we have an opportunity to run this by the CRA advisory committee? Have they had a chance to look at this?
Yes, I believe there has been a presentation to the CRA advisory committee regarding the proposals that have been received.
Were they supportive? I'm referring to the land use and zoning change.
They were supportive of the multifamily concept being a
Okay.
part of the redevelopment, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, yes, Commissioner Seal.
I was trying to look it up, but is this one of the complete streets projects for Forward Pinellas? I was trying to remember which one. I know there's one in Lillman, but I wasn't sure if this was the one.
Kelly is on the line. Kelly, if you could comment on that, because they obviously did the complete street program, but I think that was out on the major corridors.
Scott Seal. Yes, I'm not aware that this is a plan. That's a planned corridor for roadway improvement right now.
Okay.
The one in Lellman was 54th Avenue, not 58th.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. I did find 58th, but I was just making sure. Thank you.
Okay. Does the Housing Finance Authority want to make a presentation? Or make some comments? Do we have anybody from the Housing Finance Authority? No?
So Catherine was unable to attend this evening.
Okay. All right. Fine. Brian, do we have anybody who would like to make comments?
Thank you, Madam Chair. At this time, if there are any members of the public that wish to comment on agenda item 49, correct? Everybody's nodding their head. I'm going to assume
Yes,
that's
sure.
Please raise your hand virtually in the Zoom meeting or hit *9 on the telephone. And Madam Chair, we do have one person that wishes to speak on this item. It's Don Bowler. Don, welcome back to the commission. If you'll go ahead and state your name for the record, your address, and let us know that you were sworn in by the clerk.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I was not sworn in by the clerk, but I want to make sure you can hear me because I got your
Don, we're having a very, very hard time hearing you over your connection right now.
Like temperamental.
Don, are you there?
Hang on.
Don, are you there?
It might be better if she was might be better for her to call in. Her signal's very bad.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead. We have another person with their hand up.
Hang on.
Do you want to go to them first and then try to give her the phone number, or do we want to do that? Don Kroll, do we want to give her the phone number now to see if she can call back in?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and do that. Ms. Bowler, if you want to try and
Can you
call.
hear me now?
Yes.
That's much better.
Okay. One thing that caught
Don
my
Bowler,
attention.
I'm sorry. I have to administer the oath because you indicated
Yes,
that
I'm
you did
sorry.
not take the oath. So I'm so sorry. If you could just please raise your right hand. And then can you swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? If so, signify by saying I do.
I do.
Thank you.
No problem. The thing that got my attention with your conversation on this one was the traffic issue. Last week, I live on 54th and 66th Street, and just last week alone, we had a fatality accident on 66th and 54th, on 30th Avenue and 66th Street, and then there was another fatality accident, I believe, on 5th Avenue North and 66th Street today. So when you're discussing bringing in, affordable housing and the influx of people coming to the area, and going back on my request to Public Works as far as the situation we have on our area, that again was not let's see, for lack of words, it was not honored again. They said it was not problematic enough to make changes out here pending what happens when the Wawa's turns in. Given the dynamic of the traffic issues and the road issues that Commissioner Justice brought up, is it going to create a problem prior to it being, you know, if it's not addressed prior to this being built? Are we going to have a bigger issue than what we have here currently? You know, and I'm just looking just in our general vicinity right now, 3 fatal accidents in 3 weeks is kind of huge. And I'm just kind of concerned as far as if you're going to bring more people in the area, the increase in more traffic and, you know, the potential for more road issues. I kind of, you know, agree with Commissioner Justice on the way that the roads are over in this area.
Okay,
So I don't
thank
know
you.
if that made sense.
Yes.
Madam Chair, we do have one other person that wishes to speak on this item.
Okay.
Do you want to take comment?
Yes, please.
This is Brianne Hefner. Brianne, if you can go ahead and unmute yourself and give us your spelling and address for the record and indicate whether or not you took the oath from the clerk.
Of course. Brianne Hefner, Southport Financial Services, 5403 West Gray Street, Tampa, Florida, 33609. And yes, I did take the oath.
Thank you.
And I just wanted to pop in real quick and back Bruce up here for a second. So as I mentioned, I'm with one of the potential developers of the top 2 scoring request for qualifications in which we submitted to Pinellas County. And we have been working side by side with the county on site plans and urban design, etc. The general idea of this entire RFQ is to revitalize and re-spur development in the Lellman CRA. We are looking at only building 2 stories. Just like much of you guys, I know that Commissioner Seal came to our grand opening at Woodlawn Trail. And so we are looking at doing just like what we did at Woodlawn Trail, which was 80 units. This one would be 86. And then the other partnership with the county would be with Habitat for Humanity, which would do the southern portions and do their homes and revitalize some of the existing, and also building new. And yes, Commissioner Welch, we would be 100% affordable. However, with the entire community being revitalized, the goal is that our 80% or lower AMI is a stepping stone for folks to buy their own house in the neighborhood and to age in place. So I just wanted to add a couple of those things that Bruce mentioned earlier.
Okay, thank you. Brian, do we have anybody else?
No, Madam Chair, there's nobody else that wishes to speak on this item.
Okay, any further comments from the board? Motions? Yes, Commissioner Justice.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I think Ms. Boulder's comments are well taken. This is I would consider a very separate part of Lellman. The Lellman Heights area, very different than the 66 tract. But it's just something that we need to be aware of as we're looking at the development of the area. And I know this is a big, will be a substantial change for the area. But this is what we've been talking about for years. And so I'm ready to take it to the next step and move forward with this and see what they bring us back as far as a plan. I think there's a lot of safeguards still in there for us on the next step. So with that, Madam Chair, I would move approval.
Second.
Okay. All right. Yeah, and I would like to see what we could do in terms of infrastructure, like the road and sidewalks and that sort of thing as we're doing this. That's a pretty big chunk of area there. Okay, anything else? Not all in favor, please raise your hand. Motion carries 6-0. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. Okay, item 50.
All right, so agenda item number 50 actually consists of two proposed ordinances. The first amends the comprehensive plan future land use map category rules and descriptions for the activity center and mixed use corridor designations to align with the countywide rules, supports the downtown Palm Harbor master plan, and amends the future land use map legend. The second ordinance expands the downtown Palm Harbor Activity Center neighborhood future land use map designation boundaries for 64 acres and amends the supporting downtown Palm Harbor master plan. The public hearings were properly advertised and affidavit of publication has been received for filing. No correspondence has been received on either ordinance, and the matter is properly before the authority to be heard.
And Madam Chair, if I could speak up before you get started, we do need two separate votes on this. You have one ordinance that puts into place some land use categories and one that applies those land use categories. So we do need to go ahead and take two votes on those ordinances. They're very different in nature.
Okay. Commissioner Eggers.
Commissioner Eggers, you're muted, sir.
Almost got through the meeting without that. Could we have a presentation on this, please?
Yes, can you promote Scott?
Scott's here. He's got his video on, he's got his audio on. Scott, can you hear us?
I can. I can't see my video, but I think my audio is on.
Do you have your little thing over your camera?
I have nothing over my camera. Give me a second. I can try and.
Yep.
We can
Do you have video?
No, we can probably do it without seeing you, Scott. I'll go ahead and cue you up here if that's okay.
I won't be offended by that. You'll
right.
want to see the presentation anyway. Thank you, Brian. Madam Chair, ladies and gentlemen of the board, it's a pleasure to be before you, although it's virtually now. I look forward to a day when we can do this in person again. Thank you for having me this evening. I have an agenda item before you, which pertains to an update to the downtown Palm Harbor master plan. This update provides general tools to assist the redevelopment in the greater downtown Palm Harbor area. It provides for an expansion of the current activity center neighborhood boundary, which is a future land use map designation. And this will allow us a more holistic approach to planning in that greater downtown area, rather than the current condition, which includes a multitude of land use categories and differentiation. It also helps us to better update our parking standards and administrative flexibility there too, to encourage redevelopment on smaller sites, as well as allowing uses that are more mixed use in nature, that support that mixed use character that you would often see in a more walkable historic neighborhood like downtown Palm Harbor. And finally, an important to mention is that the update to the master plan allows us to increase the maximum floor area ratio for this area so that we can bring about more residential units in the downtown area and some minor increases in non-residential square footage. It's important in an area such as this that we not only have people visiting the area, but we have people who live there as well and take ownership of the area. That's a big component for the success of a neighborhood downtown area. Next slide, Brian. Thank you. So under this agenda item, there are two ordinances that are included, as Jewel mentioned. The first ordinance would adopt an update to the downtown Palm Harbor master plan, as well as amending the future land use map to expand that neighborhood activity center designation on the map. And the second ordinance is an amendment to our comprehensive plan future land use map category rules and description. That's a textual amendment. And it also includes a very minor amendment, basically to the legend of our future land use map. It's kind of a footnote to the comp plan, basically. It's a very minor amendment that just kind of makes sure that the future land use map ties into our comp plan. I'll unpack that a little bit in just a second. So under this first action or the first ordinance, updating the downtown master plan and expanding that future land use map area, this is our focus area. As you can see, so on the bottom left of your screen, in the red dot or dash, depending on the scale of this as you see it, this includes that proposed expansion area. And in the light purple is what is currently the neighborhood activity center for downtown Palm Harbor. And as you can see on the map, that it's kind of detached and kind of ebbs and flows throughout that area. And on the right, what we have is we're basically trying to capture that entire greater downtown area of Palm Harbor, to sort of treat it all, in and of its own, and to be able to kind of make sure that we go from the downtown core and transition out into those established, more single-family residential neighborhood areas. And so that's a part of that first ordinance, that first action. This is the county's one and only unincorporated local historic districts. And we take that seriously, as the neighborhood does as well. We heard a great deal from the merchants, from stakeholders, from neighborhood residents, and from our own Historic Preservation Board, the importance and relevance of this neighborhood from a historic standpoint. This is just a few examples of the kind of historic structures that are here. And so we take a lot of pride in this being at least currently, our one and only unincorporated historic area. And so in updating the master plan, there was a lot of consideration given to this historic character. It's very important. So I think it's worth a slide to mention that. Essentially expanding our activity center, which is really kind of the gist of that amendment, it allows us to combine those two isolated sub-districts that you saw, those two kind of light purple areas that were detached. And it helps us to bring them into kind of treat them as one contiguous area. It allows for a focused transition and a protection of the character that exists between the downtown core and those adjacent neighborhoods. So it helps us to transition out from a policy standpoint, from a land use standpoint, and as we get into the land development regulations, from a regulatory standpoint. And as exists today at this moment, the historic district is not included entirely within that downtown Palm Harbor activity center. It's kind of divided in different land use districts and different zoning districts. And so we thought it would be certainly appropriate to make sure that we had the entire historic district as a part of that master plan. And then finally, last but not least, we heard a lot from the community and how they use the downtown. What's important about the downtown, as far as there's this there's the west side of Alt 19, and then there's the east side of Alt 19. The west side includes all the great recreation and natural amenities, from the waterfront to the sports fields to the parks, and then the trails also on the west side, the Pinellas Trail on the west side of Alt 19, and then the east side is that downtown core. And so we were looking for ways to better kind of connect both of those sides of Alt 19 for the downtown Palm Harbor area, and bringing both of those areas holistically into the plan is one way that we can start to see them as one area. So the second action, the second ordinance, involves an amendment to our comprehensive plan and our future land use map legend. So these are kind of more textual amendments. What we've done, it aligns, essentially we are aligning our policies in this amendment to those within the county-wide plan. And so in doing so, it allows us for a more appropriate development within the greater downtown Palm Harbor area. Next slide, please. About a year ago, Forward Pinellas brought forward amendments to the countywide rules for their countywide plan. And what, by and large, what that did was they increased densities and intensities within activity centers and multimodal corridors. And of course, the downtown Palm Harbor future land use category is an activity center. And so what we're proposing before you are amendments to our own comp plan to really kind of align with those countywide plan amendments, and to make the future of this activity center, as amended, as the master plan is amended, more possible. So we've made changes to the activity centers, multi-use corridors, basically just kind of trying to get in line with the countywide amendments that took place from Forward Pinellas last year. A couple additions to that we put in are notes that really bring forward the county's position for many years on limiting density increases in the coastal high hazard area. They're just notes that, just make it clear that, while we may have these density and intensity allowances in activity centers and mixed use corridors, properties in coastal high hazard areas, there are going to be limits on density increases. And that really also falls in line with a lot of the state requirements as well. It's very much frowned upon from the state perspective to increase densities. So we just wanted to make, the state asked us about it, and we thought, we'll put some footnotes in there to make sure that they understand that, we are limiting densities here. So those are the two ordinances. And in closing, staff respectfully requests that the board adopt the proposed ordinances as amended. When we first brought these ordinances to you in July for transmittal to the state, we had a couple changes that were proposed by state agencies. The coastal high hazard area notes, for one, is one of the changes. We had a couple typos that we came across where we had, table 2 instead of table 1. So kind of going through with a fine-tooth comb, we've made a few kind of minor innocuous changes to ordinances. So we asked you to adopt the proposed ordinances as amended. And as Jewel had mentioned, each of these ordinances would require their own, their own recommendations for adoption. So their own motions and their own voting for each of the ordinance and adopting. And then I'll just finally close with what is kind of to come. Land development regulations are to come. We have a form-based code that we are kind of ironing out the details. That would be the implementing regulatory document for this unique area of downtown Palm Harbor. And that will be coming before you, as well as that would also include a zoning atlas change as well, so that we could, bring this master plan to fruition and continue to support economic redevelopment and protection of the historic character in the downtown Palm Harbor area. So with that, I would give this back to the board for discussion and any questions, and I would be happy to answer. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any questions?
Great job. Great presentation. Very clear. Excellent.
Okay.
Thank you, Commissioner.
I guess that means we have no questions. All right. Well, let's take up the first ordinance first, the adopting the downtown Palm Harbor master plan and amending the future land use map.
Move approval, Madam Chair.
You still need to take public comment, guys.
Okay. So do we have any public comment, Brian?
At this time, if there's any members of the public that wish to comment on agenda item 50, and the comment can be on either ordinance, is that okay? Jules nodding her head.
Please.
Okay, thank you very much. And Madam Chair, we do have one person that wishes to speak. It's coming in on the phone line, last 4 digits 1330. If you can go ahead and unmute yourself, give us your first, last name, address, and spelling, and you will have 3 minutes to address the board.
Hi, good evening, Commissioners. David Ballard Jr. I live on Georgia Avenue, downtown Palm Harbor. And influencing our children here.
I'm sorry, Mr. Geddes. Can you confirm whether you took the oath or not?
Mr. Balaguetis, if you can go ahead and unmute. I'm sorry, I just muted you to listen to Don. Are you sworn in by the clerk?
There is
No,
no.
I
Sir,
have not been sworn in.
These are not quasi judicial.
I'm sorry,
matters.
this is the wrong, I apologize. That was the last item.
All right. Sorry, go ahead, Mr. Balaguetis.
Okay, David Ballard Geddes Jr. I live on Georgia Avenue, downtown Palm Harbor. Here downtown, we reject any further development of alcohol establishments or the idea of any marijuana dispensaries in our neighborhood. We reject the idea of roundabouts as they impede the efficiencies of emergency vehicles and travel in general. We reject large commercial development, further congesting a deliberately over-congested, critically concerned water crisis area pursuant statute 163.3184. We reject past uncontrolled and inadequate development practices of the past, which are being used to guide present-day political reasoning as based on statute 380.05. I call to question principles guiding interlocal governmental relations, questioning the underlying causes of our physical and biologically deteriorated resources, such as our neglected infrastructure and our contaminated water supply, which is deliberately being used as a foundation of today's engineered reasoning. I question any resolution to base future development as promoted on these past deliberate inadequacies, politically creating problems of inadequacies, then re-navigating and resolving, finding solutions to the deprecations that cause to instate such ordinances and allow such factors to pave the way of
roads, because he wants to do that.
One step at a time.
Okay.
Edgar's roundabout provision is in here, though.
We'll delegate that authority. Yeah, never mind.
Or I'd be happy to take that delegation and rename the roads.
Yeah, right. Go for it.
That.
Yeah. All right. If there are no further comments, all in favor, please raise your hand. The motion carries unanimously, I guess.
Yes, ma'am.
Item, where are you? 52. Only two more left.
Yeah, we're getting closer. Item number 52 is a proposed ordinance approving Jabil Incorporated for an economic development ad valorem tax exemption. The public hearing was properly advertised. The affidavit of publication has been received for filing. No correspondence has been received. The matter is properly before the authority to be heard.
Madam Chair, I did ask Mike Meidel to be on the line to give you kind of a brief overview of the different phases and where this fits in.
That would be great. Thank you.
Mike, you on the line?
He's here. Give him one moment. You got to unmute on your side, Mike.
Got it. Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
All right, awesome. Yes, we are very proud tonight to tell you that we've finally, obviously it was announced years ago, but Jabil Corporation, our Fortune 500 headquarters, third largest publicly traded company in Florida, has chosen to stay in Pinellas County and continue to grow and expand their presence here. They are a manufacturer of electronic components and equipment for computers and smartphones, for printers, for medical devices, for defense industry products as well. The beginning as far back as the early 2000s, they knew they were going to run out of space and were looking at other sites to either expand or even totally relocate their headquarters. Over the years, they looked at Silicon Valley, where they already have a significant presence, Austin, Texas, Boston, Massachusetts, Atlanta, Georgia. Finally, in May of 2016, we offered this ad valorem tax exemption as an incentive for them to make that decision and stay here and continue to grow here. In June of 2017, the city joined us in providing the space for this Jabil Innovation Center that is our phase one subject tonight. And in February of 2018, the company did publicly announce their intention to stay and to renovate their entire campus. This ad valorem tax exemption was preserved by you as a separate vote in March of 2020. And right now we are bringing to you the actual resolution, the ordinance actually that it puts in place the incentive, which at this point for phase one will be 10 years at 100% of the new value of that building. And they did renovate an existing building, the Tampa Bay Research Institute facility. And that was formerly owned by the city of St. Petersburg and was not on the tax rolls. It has been fully remodeled, is a world-class technology laboratory at this time. It's where they design their new product lines, their new manufacturing systems for customers all over the world. Their customers are the Fortune 500 base as well. And one of the key components of this is their Nipro subsidiary that is their medical device company. So with that, the estimated value of this tax abatement is been approved by the property appraiser's office. It would be $53,419 for the first year. And this would be the ordinance that you're addressing tonight would put that into place for 10 years. The value would change slightly from year to year based on the actual appraised value. They will never be charged that additional taxes until the 10 years are up, and then they will go to the full market value of the property at that time. So that's the first phase. Now, the second phase you already see under construction as you drive by their site. They completely demolished their original headquarters building and are constructing a new 170,000 square foot facility that will be their new headquarters and includes food service and fitness center, technology lounge, conference meeting space. And this is where the C-level employees will work along with a lot of the administrative staff. The third phase that is coming down the line will be the complete renovation of their current headquarters facility. And this is where the CEO currently resides, but when the new building is complete, they'll be moving into there. They'll completely tear out and remodel this building, and this will become their IT headquarters and server farm here at the facility. There is a fourth building down south of this building that you see. It is a advanced manufacturing center, and that is not included in the overall incentive at this time. So I just wanted to see if there's any quick questions on the overall project.
You have Commissioner Seal, Madam Chair.
Commissioner Seal, thank you.
Yes, what protections are in place for us if they sell it, if they go out of business, which they won't, but what kind of clauses are there?
Well, that will be coming to you in November. There is actually yet another step. So on November 17th, we'll be bringing you the actual agreement that puts in all the legal requirements that they have to fulfill. They report to us annually on the status of their employment, their capital investment, their projects, and we get an update every year thereafter from the property appraiser's office as well. So if they do not meet the criteria that are set in that agreement, then the incentive is terminated and they go back to paying full taxes on the facility.
And then remind me, do we have any QTI with them at the present time?
No, we don't. We actually you had one that was a confidential QTI that was passed in 2017, but due to the economy changing and due to COVID impacts, the companies decided not to continue with the QTI agreement and has terminated that. So that is no longer in effect.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Eggers.
Yeah, Mike. On those three phases that you're talking about, there's some value right now that exists, and there'll be some value that exists after the improvements. Are we just giving them the break on the added value?
Yes. Yes, the current value, the taxes we receive on phase one are a little over $15,000 a year, and we'll continue to receive those.
Okay. And then the value increases on the rest of it amount to giving them a $53,000 break on the taxes?
Yes, yes, that would be if we were charging full taxes on the entire increased amount of value. That's what we'd be charging. So this is money we've never seen on our tax rolls anyway. It's money that we would be foregoing in the future.
Okay. The 15 obviously is still, okay, thank you.
Yes.
Any other questions? All right, I'll entertain a motion. Do we have any, public comment?
Thank you, Madam Chair. At this time, if there are any members of the public that wish to comment on agenda item number 52, please hit *9 on the telephone or raise your hand virtually in the Zoom meeting. And Madam Chair, there's nobody that wishes to speak on this item.
One last question.
Yes, please.
Mike, you probably mentioned it, and I just didn't pick up on it. How many jobs were we talking about potentially?
Yeah, they currently employ 1,600 people in Pinellas County, and we would have lost that entire amount if they had chosen to go to another state to facilitate it. The current project that you're voting on tonight includes 86 retained employees at an average wage of $95,000, and it includes 12 new employees at the average wage of $62,500.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions?
Move approval, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion from Commissioner Welch, second from Commissioner Eggers. All in favor, please raise your hands. Thank you. Item passes unanimously. Item 53.
No,
Madam
Commissioner
Oh, this
Gerard.
is, I'm sorry, what?
Commissioner Seal's a no.
Oh,
I'm
I'm
a no.
sorry. I correct, I can't see. All right. Item passes 5-1. Item 53, Kat, you had something. This is quasi judicial?
That is, Madam
That's
Chair.
correct.
I was also trying to point out Commissioner Seal, so
Oh, okay.
Don beat me to it. So item number 53 is a quasi-judicial hearing. It's a quasi-judicial petition to vacate that was submitted by Melissa Marie Bonilla and Michael Allen Kopp to vacate a portion of a drainage utility and or natural easement located in Lot 5, Block A, Lake St. George, Unit 1. The public hearing was properly advertised. An affidavit of publication has been received for filing. Letters of no objection have been received from the appropriate parties, and all interested parties have been notified as to the date of the public hearing. No correspondence has been received. The matter is properly before the board to be heard.
Okay. Do we need a presentation on this?
Staff has no objection to the request.
No.
Okay. Do we have any questions? All right. Do we have anybody who would like to speak from the public, Brian?
Thank you, Madam Chair. At this time, if there are any members of the public that wish to comment on our last agenda item number 53, please raise your hand virtually in the Zoom meeting or hit *9 on the telephone. And Madam Chair, we have nobody that wishes to speak on this item.
Okay. All right, I will entertain a motion. We'll close the public hearing.
Move approval, Madam Chair.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion from Commissioner Long, second from Commissioner Welch. All in favor, please raise your hand. Opposed? Motion carries
6-0.
Okay, all right, thank you. And that was our last item. Do we have anything else for the good of the order?
Go Rays.
Yeah, let's go.
Raise indeed.
Half an hour. Okay. See you guys next week.
Thanks, Madam
Bye,
Chair.
everybody.
Bye.
Bye.